in there all day.
How do you do that?
It was fun.
How do we set that 1 week? Mine don't. I don't have mine set that way.
All right, perfect. So you are
Or maybe
all
2
set.
weeks, or maybe 2 weeks in your
and
deleted,
you are being
only
recorded.
deleted folder. Or a deleted folder, if you really look, they don't keep anything from the system.
Oh, well, start it up and pass it on to you.
Sent stays a year. But deleted stays 2 weeks. Yeah, so put them in the folder.
So we're going to get started on our education class for this month. We have Nick Yost of Euphoria Coffee teaching us how to use social media and how it impacts business. This will be a brief, broad stroke overview. Any specifics you want after that, you can direct questions to Nick at the end of this. There'll be a small time period for that. Anything further, you can point my way and I will connect you with the right person or get you the right answer. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Nick.
All right. So Matt said that, I don't know how you said that I was going to teach you how to use social media. I'm going to teach you how I use social media because I don't really know. I'm definitely not an expert, but I know what we do and how we use it. I think that's got a little bit. I know what we do and how we use it. So the other thing too, some people are worried about time. I don't think this is going to take it's not going to take an hour. I think I'm going to be about 30 minutes or so. So we'll see. Famous last words, but I don't like talking about things I don't know. So when I run out of things to talk about, I'm going to stop. All right. So social media in your business and why it's important for your business. Number one, well, first off, who all is on social media? Who uses social media for their business specifically? Okay, cool. How often do you guys post?
At least once a day.
You post once a day,
Twice a week.
twice a week,
I'm a couple times a week.
couple times a week. So why do you post on that schedule? Why do you post once a day? You're just that creative?
Well, that,
Ideas.
there's that. There's lots of stuff
Yeah.
that should be out there, informational and
Yeah.
who knows, plus it keeps top of mind when you open your Facebook. If you like our page, it pops up more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it appeases 250 employees. Because if we could do it 10 times a day.
There are
Yeah.
days when there's 3 or 4 posts.
But
Okay.
they
So you're
want
using it to share information, though. It's like, right? Or what?
Share information and educate.
Okay. How about for you guys?
We do a bit of both. We do market related information. We do personal posts as well. I think our schedule was to create consistency, right? You don't want someone to search for us and see a dead page, right? There
Yeah,
hasn't been
that's a good
any
point.
activity, so
Yeah.
trying just to maintain. I guess I started. I don't want to speak for Becca because she runs her own page for Brian, but I'm like, I don't know what I don't know, so I just got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So I can certainly enhance what I'm doing, but those are some of the reasons for my schedule.
Consultant told me 2 to 3 times a week.
Was the optimum.
On our people.
Yeah. So I mean, there is such a thing as posting too often. So 2 to 3 times a week seems to be a good average. But anyway, so why you should take social media important, I guess, or why we do, is 80% of Americans are on social media. So it's where your customers already are. And according to our insights that we have on our business page, we have followers from like 15 years old all the way up to we have grandmas sharing stuff on our pages or sharing our page too. So it's amazing the wide breadth. It's where your customers are and you don't have to get out of your chair to go to them. You can stay where you're at as well. And it's a great way to communicate. So it's also effective. So in the month of February, I'll just tell you how our page performance was, and you guys probably have better page performances than we do. I don't know. In the month of February, we had 43,000 interactions on our between our Facebook and our Instagram page. I know of people that do way better than that. So I'm by no means a an expert, but, that's kind of where we're at. So it is effective. And the third one, that I've written down is that it's affordable. So those 43,000 people that we reached in February, I didn't pay a dime to reach them. So, the other part of it being affordable, you need to be careful with this, but you can do targeted ads, and choose where you're going to spend your money, and you can track who gets to see those ads, which is important. But that's what I like about it, is you're not just paying for like a print ad and getting told, hey, we circulate to 20,000 homes. Well, who actually picked it up and saw it? So social media is also measurable, I guess. And then it does more than just make you money. So it raises brand awareness. It gives you a platform to communicate with your customers or, your employees. So we've used social media very effectively for throwing out ideas. One cool thing that we've done in the past is, if we have a new seasonal, we'll like throw out a teaser and ask people to guess what it potentially would be. The biggest reason we do that is like we start hearing what our customer wants it to be, so that we can turn that around and be like, dude, there was like 4 people were hoping it was a raspberry drink. One of our next seasonal should be a raspberry drink. So you can just use it in ways to actually glean information from your audience as well. I pulled up this, it's a 2019 poll by Blue Compass, but it's just who's using what in Iowa. And it's old, it's 4 years old. So I'm gonna guess that these numbers are different by now because social media changes so much. But 82% of Iowans use use Facebook, 45% use Snapchat, 44% use Instagram, 36% use Twitter, 29% Pinterest, and 23% LinkedIn. Who all is on LinkedIn? I'm not, and I don't know anything about LinkedIn.
I don't know why.
Well, all right, so pros and cons of Facebook. Pros, everyone's on Facebook, massive audience reach. Targeted advertising, I talked a little bit about that. Great for customer interaction. So it's just really set up well for interacting with your customers. And then the powerful analytics. There was a lot of you that have it, who all actually uses the analytics tools to see how their posts are performing. You guys do, you do, yeah. Have you seen stuff that's like popped up and then changed something drastically by what you post or how you post? What's that been?
Anything personal. So if it is a personal story or if it has a person that people know,
Yeah.
that reaches so much more than if it's how to control your diabetes.
Yeah.
If it was how does Nick control his diet, and
Yeah.
you're in the photo.
Yeah. Like a photo of that coffee drink there, just sitting on a table versus like Jamie Hoy holding
Mhm.
that coffee drink. Like we've seen that too, like probably triple the interactions when someone from your business is actually involved or one of your customers. So analytics are very powerful. So Facebook and Instagram has really good analytics. The cons, ads require a large budget. Who will use paid advertising on Facebook? Do you enjoy that? Like, does it work?
Again, I feel like sometimes the reach is larger off of the paid ad because it pushes it out more. Some of the stuff that we've done, like our Chamber After 5 or our block party was a great example. It helped increase that measurable footprint for us. When you put something in the newspaper, like you said, it's circulation of X amount of people. And I've got people who come up to me and said, well, I didn't know about this. And I'm like, well, is it in the newspaper? It was in the newspaper. And they're like, well, I guess I didn't read that.
Yeah.
So just because they get the newspaper doesn't mean they necessarily see what you're putting out there, but pushing the ad.
Cool
pushes
thing that I haven't even mentioned is like you put something in the newspaper and their deadline is on Wednesday and your event is whenever, right? 2 weeks from now. You end up like one of your vendors changes or whatever. Social media, you can go edit that post.
Right.
Where, and I'm definitely not knocking the newspaper. The newspaper has like it's very valuable for sure depending on which business you have. Our business is like I guess our ideal customer probably isn't spending a lot of time looking at the ads in the newspaper, but I think there are definitely businesses that it works really well for. And what was my question to you? Oh, ads. You had a response to what was your, how do you,
We
You do paid
do,
ads?
yeah, we do paid targeted ads.
okay, yeah,
And then you can easily tell who has, so we will target, so say we're doing like an OB, we will target based on zip code, age, this sort of thing. And then our analytics will show how many people clicked on it compared to how many people came to the event. So we can measure that way.
that takes some time though to actually
It
like,
does.
run those numbers. If you're spending money, because that's the thing, like 5 years ago, I don't know if any of you did ads on Facebook 5 years ago, but 5 years ago, you could just throw like $20 at it and like 3,000 people would see it and it was like, or whatever, 5,000, it'd just take off. And now it's like, it feels like, I mean, you have to spend money. It starts getting expensive if you're not smart about it. Like used to, you could just be like, oh, this post is really performing good and just throw some money at it and just keep throwing money at it and it was just keep performing well. It's not that way anymore. So you do have to kind of know what you're doing. You can kind of overspend your budget if you don't really know what you're doing on the paid ads. It does take consistent engagement, which all social media really does, but Facebook definitely does. And then little to no control if the page is suspended. So Facebook has a weird track record of for sure small businesses suspending pages. And there's a myriad of reasons why. But the next one, I have Snapchat. I don't know anything about Snapchat. I'm not on Snapchat. We try to get Snapchat set up for our business and it just doesn't, like, they don't care about businesses from my standpoint. Does anyone use Snapchat for business? I'm sure a lot of people are on Snapchat.
We've
Right.
used, like, we've set up specific filters when we've had
Yeah.
events.
Yeah.
Things like that, but
Have
we don't
those-
use it for advertising.
Have those worked? Like have people use
fun.
those? Yeah,
Like when we had like a big carnival.
Yeah.
It's fun and people used it like for their kids and stuff like that, but
because that was like the
it wasn't for
most
marketing.
impactful thing that I could really find
Mhm.
with Snapchat is the filters.
Yep, where like they would check in and that sort of thing, but no.
Yeah,
It was for fun. We don't use it for marketing.
Yeah.
Would it be like the technological equivalent of the plywood cutout where you stick your face in and take a
That's
picture?
exactly
yeah,
what.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And then
like,
it
that's
says
what it
like,
was.
we have like a theme coming
Mhm.
together, or whatever our theme is and. it
And
goes
you
in.
probably had like a printout and then go like.
They had to scan
use
it,
your-
yep.
Yeah, scan it and then
Mhm.
use, so that's cool.
Yeah.
But,
It was
Um,
fun, but
yeah, so I really don't have any input on Snapchat. We tried and I just found it frustrating, so we stopped. All right, so Instagram is really very visual appealing. It was completely set up to for people to just share photos originally, and it's definitely moved away from that, but it's still, photos are for sure, the front and forward aspect. Does anyone use Instagram for business? We do, and it's just because Instagram and Facebook are,
correct.
yeah, you can connect and you can post the same thing.
So easy.
But I have some fun, analytics that I ran, just like, that's one of the cool things about doing one of these talks. So if any of the rest of you people get asked to do these talks, you should do it because you'll get better at your own. Like, this was cool for me because I actually ran my own analytics for the first time in a bit. And I was like, whoa, that's really interesting. So it'll help you get better. But like Facebook, we get probably, so we post the exact same content to Facebook and to Instagram, and we get like 90% more interactions on Facebook. Like Facebook is like doing all the heavy lifting for us, but it's like, it just connects to, like, I post everything to Instagram and then just hit the slider, post to Facebook, yes, and then it posts to Facebook. So one cool thing though is that Instagram, people do tend to look at the stories, which I don't know if I didn't, but Instagram stories are very effective for us. So Facebook stories, not really, but we have really, probably just in the last 2 months, really tried to get better at our Instagram stories. And it doesn't seem to get a huge reach. Like our stories will we'll have like 300 people, 300 or 400 people see them, but it's actually someone that saw it, and people interact with those stories a lot quicker. So if you put a poll out on a story or whatever, which is really cool. So Instagram definitely has its place. It's more popular apparently with the younger generation. Around here, I still like, I mean, I know that the younger generation is definitely on Instagram. They're also on Facebook from what I've seen. And then it was created for mobile and everybody is on mobile now. So the cons, and I talked about that, the misleading metrics. We have about the same amount of followers. No, I shouldn't say that. We're about 30% less followers on Instagram than Facebook, but posting the same content to Instagram, we're getting like not even close to the same ROI. So just because you have followers on Instagram does not mean that you're actually getting engagement. And it does need an aggressive posting schedule, and for sure on like if you're going to use those other features like the stories and stuff that people actually use, stories and reels and stuff that people are on Instagram for. Pinterest, I'll just quick bomb through these. Oh, sorry, this is Twitter. So ads see a little bit more success than Facebook. Easy to engage followers and influencers using Twitter. Free targeting using the hashtag and app symbols. Anybody use Twitter business? I've always thought it'd be fun, except that I don't really trust myself.
You know,
But-
time.
Well, I have,
Twitter, you have to like post like.
well, I know that's one of the things. It like requires multiple
That's
um,
crazy.
tweets a day. Like the people that I know that are on Twitter and are effective on Twitter, like live on Twitter. And that's one thing. Yeah. Anyway, lots of noise to compete with. So there's just a lot of other people saying, things in what is it, 160 characters or less. And it does drive traffic, but not necessarily sales. So it's really hard to add any call to actions or anything with Twitter. It definitely drives traffic and gets people talking, but it doesn't necessarily convert to sales. Pinterest, there's lots of potential for driving traffic. It is less expensive on the advertising side. And then they do have some cool tools to boost. And then that kind of goes with that less expensive advertising. It's definitely not suited for all businesses. Like a restaurant, I don't understand why a restaurant would be on there, but like a business, like I would think, Deb, for your stuff, you might be able to utilize Pinterest way better than I could. Because people are going to Pinterest and they want to then do something themselves, like they want to be inspired to do something themselves. So I could see it working a little bit better for you. But it can be fairly time consuming. And then, yeah, just the number of users. I mean, you can only potentially do a quilt the same way, only so many times. I don't know. And then LinkedIn, I should probably have Jason talk about this, but LinkedIn seems to be more of just a networking with other business people, right? So it's really not social media, so to speak, except it is apparently a good place to meet up with other people. And then the cool thing that I think I should be utilizing it for, and I think I could be utilizing it for sure, maybe for if I ran a business like yours, Jason, or is that it would make it potentially easier to recruit talent when you actually have job postings available. People seem to find jobs on LinkedIn, but I haven't been looking for a job for a while. It's definitely not.
That's how I ended up in West Union was
That's how
LinkedIn.
you ended up there.
Wow.
Okay, so it's powerful. So it's
Really
important.
pushed in like college courses
Mhm.
too, as far as, that paper resume is not a thing anymore, so.
Yeah.
I think.
There
In,
is like
And
a
it is
social
different
media
industries.
side to
Yes.
LinkedIn though, right?
Yeah.
There's like
Oh,
a feed and
absolutely.
people interact.
Yep.
And, yeah.
This is, oh, sorry, this is just more for business to business is really where it
Yeah.
shines.
Yeah, it's business, specific industries are gonna better capacity.
Yeah, that seems, yeah,
And
that's cool.
it helps you, when you're looking for applicants, you can put out your own electronic format of the stuff that you're looking for. You may not care about what education they have, but more focused on the skill sets they bring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Things along those
So
lines.
it is probably easier to sort some
Mhm.
of that stuff.
It's a awesome tool for if you're a business and you're trying to find applicants. LinkedIn's fantastic because you can sort them by however you want, what features you're hoping for and not hoping for. And you can assign them tests and skills just to verify they know what they know.
So while we're on, go ahead.
Just the other thing on the social media side of LinkedIn, because it's a smaller user base, it is very effective
Okay.
on the social media side. You get a lot more engagement, and therefore the ultimate goal is connecting. So if you are using I get that's just in my experience.
That's cool.
The smaller user base.
Is it more of like, it definitely is, I feel like professionals.
Yeah.
use
Yeah.
it.
No,
Yeah.
I
absolutely.
mean, like, you're
Like,
not,
you
like,
don't, you aren't scrolling through
like-
vacation pictures.
You're not gonna
No.
see as many,
Yeah.
well, and
But
you're not
you're-
gonna see as many retail industry, food industries,
Yeah.
things like that. There's just
Right.
certain industries that don't work well for the format.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. While we're on the subject of hiring people, has anyone used social media besides, Jason effectively for hiring? Or are you relying on, you have?
Yeah.
How's, you have two, Troy?
Yeah.
How's that, how have you used it?
I just put out what the, what people's potential, that they can make, stuff like that.
On what platform?
Facebook.
Facebook? Do you do like Facebook, you can actually like do a job posting and accept, like people can actually apply?
Mine's just a general post.
You just do like a typical post?
I can expand on that. The city uses Facebook for some of their postings. It's fantastic because, like you said, most people use Facebook, so they get on there, they look at it, and they can quickly message the employer and just ask a question without sending their application in. You go through Indeed or Monster, it's a little more of a process, then you got to remember to check it. But with Facebook, you kind of always find yourself scrolling it, so you see, oh, okay, I see this, I want to ask a few questions, and it's kind of opportunistic in terms of how you find people, and more. It's not like they're just sitting down doing their job search for the day.
I've also found that like, I feel like because there's a lot of people just on Facebook,
Mhm.
the applicants that we've gotten on Facebook are like lower quality.
They
Is that
can
the
be,
right
yeah.
way to put it? I don't know.
It's
I've
not
just,
as
like, I've just
formalized.
noticed a lot of like people obviously who just have
Right.
nothing better to do, so let's try to apply to this.
And that you have that as well, Facebook doesn't necessarily push for a professional format in terms of a resume, cover letter, letters of recommendation. It can be informal, some guy in his sweatpants in the living room just, floating around saying, oh, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
And it's a quick, easy click, I applied for unemployment purposes.
Sure.
Okay, yeah.
We get, maybe 4 applicants, then we did the $107 ad, and we got like 24 in 2 days.
On Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay. And that was effective, like you actually felt like those 24 applicants you got there was definitely.
Or is it 12 that were garbage, so you
No, what?
didn't reply to, but.
Yeah,
Yeah, so we went for like 6 weeks. We got 4,
Just a
and then
little
we did the
person.
targeted thing, we got like 4 days.
so maybe that is a more effective way to, like, I just have got to the point where I won't spend money on targeted ads on Facebook. But, so you create a job posting then, right? And then boosted it or whatever, did the thing. Cool, because I might have to start doing that, because I haven't had any, we've definitely hired people on like off of, Facebook referrals, but I haven't really been super impressed with just like that application process on Facebook, but that's cool. Yeah, great. So that's what I'm gonna talk about now is just the meta product. So Facebook and Instagram, because that's what we use. So some of that other stuff, like that's kind of what I know about them. Thankfully, some of you know way more about it than I do, so that's great. But how we use Facebook and Instagram, and basically, like I said, we found Facebook to be the most effective so far. If you're gonna use Facebook or Instagram, really helpful to understand the algorithm. One cool thing, does anyone know why it's called the algorithm? I don't know why, but didn't the guy that invented the internet, his name was Al Gore? I don't know, that'd be cool. But anyway, social media algorithms are a way of sorting posts in a user's feed based on relevancy. So the algorithm is gonna be this so that you don't get slammed with everybody's posts all at the same time. It's gonna actually sort and prioritize the content with the likelihood that you're gonna actually want to see something. So just because you put something on Facebook, for sure Instagram is definitely, you're not gonna just see it. That's just a little bit about the algorithm and what it is. So Facebook's algorithm for their feed, which is just when you're scrolling Facebook there. So each of these social media platforms use different algorithms for like their stories, versus the feed, you know, like all the different aspects. But most like the thing that I'm worried about is the algorithm for the feed on Facebook. So currently there's three main ranking signals, and these things change. Like you'll need to, if you're gonna utilize social media effectively, you'll need to be up to date on what the algorithms are because they have changed. Like I've talked about how effectiveness of paid ads have changed. We've seen over the last 3 years things like what performs well on Facebook and Instagram has changed. So and what's cool is that because it's always changing, there's always articles. It's an easy topic to write an article about. So there's always articles. So Google or YouTube or your friends, because um, you're gonna find people that are telling you what those main signals are. But the number one ranking signal is just who posted it. So you're going to see content from sources that you interact with, or if you are friends with someone else, obviously, or if you're friends with, if you have a mutual friend that posts something. That's going to be businesses also that you have liked or followed. So right now I'm kind of talking about it from a user standpoint, but you kind of have to put yourself in that thought process of what is the user experiencing. So who posted it, the type of content. So if a user most often interacts with videos are going to pop up first. So you could be everything else the same, but if you most often click the like button on videos, you're going to see videos more. Or if you spend an extra 5 seconds on photos, you're going to see photos more often. So type of content, and then interactions with the post. So if 12 of your friends all like a post, it's going to push it over to you because they're like, oh, 12 of Nick's friends saw that. Nick's going to want to get in on this too. So they're going to push that to you. So those are some of the things that you kind of have to think about when you're posting stuff. That's what Facebook wants to see. That's what Facebook's thinking is, you know, who posted it, what kind of content is this, and who else is liking this. So if you can, it's really important, and we've noticed that is if you get likes and comments, like you know within about 15 minutes whether a post is going to do well or not. Like it just happens. Other things is just favorites, in-feed options, and community standards. So favorites, every user can choose 30 accounts that they want to see. Like I just passes the algorithm. So please go make Euphoria Coffee a favorite. But you'll just see if you go make our page a favorite, doesn't matter. You will see all of our posts, or you will see a lot more of our posts. In-feed options, so that's where if you see, you know, hide this ad, or what are some of them? I think I wrote them down. Yeah, I don't want to see this. We've all seen those banners. If you click on that, it's going to start hiding that kind of stuff from your feed. And then just the community standards. Spend just a little bit of time on that, just because Facebook will remove content that violates the community standards, and some of those are kind of obscure. Like, has anyone had posts removed for weird reasons? So I know that Trends, she was posting some stuff about like sale items that had blue tickets, and Facebook doesn't want you selling like scalping tickets on Marketplace. And so it was just like removing those posts instead of her putting like blue stickers or something. I don't know. But Facebook also doesn't want you selling guns. They don't want you promoting violence, that kind of thing. And so it's going to flag that. It also is going to remove stuff. If you're interacting with accounts that have fake names or are suspicious, it's going to start removing your posts from other people's feeds too. So things to think about with that algorithm. So I have some tips about stuff that we do, what I think about posting to social media. One of the things that we found most effective, and this is just by watching analytics and seeing what actually works, is don't just post status updates. And I don't really know what you guys do, but status updates are just like, if everything's just type on your feed, that's not going to be visually appealing. And Troy, you do a lot of this, and you still get lots of interaction. So I don't figure that out. But you get like 120 people liking 2 lines, and if I did that, I'd get like 12. So good job. I don't know how you did that. But this is more what I'm thinking. Osmos and Lawn Care, they do a great job of creating something visually appealing, and then their type goes with it. And I can see that. I can see the change in their interactions between. I think the other one was Amigos Restaurant in Waterloo, which I really like them, but I noticed that on their feed, just the interactions were a lot lower. So stay away from just strictly status updates unless you're Troy. And then posting original and native content. So instead of just sharing links and stuff to your feed, create stuff yourself. That's Instagram really rewards people who create stuff themselves, but Facebook is really good about that too. So I grabbed a screenshot just from Canon's greenhouse. I don't even know where this is, but they have this just kind of draws you in, and I thought it was a really good example of unique and native content. Like, how often do you see just a thermometer in your Facebook feed? But together with everything else in that post, it's actually an interactive post. And it's speaking about, their growth as they prepare for their upcoming spring season. And it's kind of starting to already affect how people are viewing it. Now, if you just take that and you only have, the status up here, not the picture, I think that post really, really loses its effectiveness. The other thing too is if you had just a link to, I don't know, your greenhouse's website or whatever, again, you're really losing effectiveness. So it doesn't have to be fancy, but if you snap a few photos, like it's actually really, really helpful. Use all the media types available. So I've talked about stories. Stories are really effective. Does anyone else have any, have you used anything else besides stories for, like effective social media stuff? Nothing. While I'm thinking of it, another one of Instagram's algorithms right now is direct messaging. If you direct message someone and get them to reply, so there's a reason why as a business, you get all these direct messages from random businesses that you've never seen. It's just they're trying to boost up their presence. But anyway, I just thought of it, hit me. Anyway, so use up your status or your stories and anything else that you can use. Reels are incredibly effective. They also require you to get in front of a camera typically and dance or something, and I don't do that very well. Get in front of the camera though. That's my next thing. You had that about being personal. Anytime that it's either you or one of your employees or one of your customers enjoying themselves, that's what we found too. Like, our interactions just go through the roof anytime that we actually have a human that people love. Like, people come to our shop, yeah, it's good coffee, but they come because they enjoy us and our staff and the experience that they get there too. So think about why people enjoy your business. They probably enjoy your business more because of you than just the product that you sell. So good example. I've got my friend Brian at Rock Street Roasting. This is just, he actually had a professional photographer come in and do some photography for him, and this is one of his posts. I like it. It's also can be kind of expensive, and posing in front of camera is not very fun. Another cool thing that Brian does is he is kind of king of making goofy faces. And so he will post a lot of stuff like this. And I noticed that his content similar to this gets even more interaction than just a post shot. But not everyone's comfortable doing that. I'm not super comfortable. Like, you're not, if you go to my personal social media, you're not gonna see me in front of the camera ever. So the fact that you see me in front of the camera every once in a while at Euphoria is like, when Nicole gets out the camera, I'm gone. So customer engagement is really important. And that's just something about that we talked about even with the algorithm. But customer engagement is really important. So here's an example I pulled up, but Plant Some, I don't even know who they are. They have this beautiful picture of this little patio, and then they ask the question, would you ever leave if your patio looked as good as this? In the comments, people were, you know, people start responding, and even if nothing else, you're getting people's minds to think, and they're in their mind, they're starting to interact with you, even though maybe that's not a measurable, but if you're gonna post something, try to pull people into what you're doing.
And I don't know if you're gonna get this later, but I know like you do a lot of share this post or you interact with them. How does that increase your followers?
So.
I don't know if
that-
we're gonna get into it.
No, I'm not, but it's a good point.
Because
So
you do that.
Facebook used to reward people for doing
Mhm.
that, so we did it. Facebook has stopped doing that. Facebook actually will now start killing posts. If you say hit the like button or share this or whatever, Facebook has stopped doing that. So you have to figure out how to be a lot more subtle about that now than you used to. So you could just be like, just ask, yeah, like it'd be very obvious about promoting. Facebook really, from my standpoint, from what I see, Facebook is really trying to make businesses pay to use their platform. And it still is very effective, and you don't have to pay. But that's what they really want. So if you're gonna go out and actually blatantly just like promote products and stuff, they're gonna kill it. So lately, no, we haven't seen a lot.
Well, you put like, you've done it, I know Kat, you did it when you opened, you're like, what's our day? And everybody, you know, and I didn't know if that
That's awesome.
increases.
I didn't do that, Abby did, I don't even know how she did it. Cause she does Instagram and I don't get it, so we've got Instagram for the young people and Facebook for the old people, is what I've been told.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, but no, that's a good point, and I think that's super effective, that's when we actually get, but then every once in a while, I'll post with like a question, and like, it's just crickets, and and I don't know why, but some of this is just, you're posting 5 days a week, like, not everything has to be bangers, and you still do all right. So, insights, we've talked about insights. Spend some time on your insight page. There's a ton of cool stuff. You can see when is the best time to post. So we post in the mornings between 6 and 8, because that's when everyone's trying to wake up, and that's what I do. My alarm rings and I hit snooze, and then my alarm rings again, and babies like start one eye open, start scrolling something or read the news or something, and eventually I get up because I hate getting up. But that's the most effective time for us. We also obviously serve a lot of breakfast and morning stuff, so that helps. I've talked to other businesses that do really well at lunchtime, because people at lunchtime are doing their breaks, or in the evening. I used to work for a business that we posted tons of stuff in like 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, because that's when we got the best returns. So just use your insights on your personal page to kind of direct you on that. Get a quality phone. So this is just me, but I used to have an old Samsung S something, I don't know what it was. And it took terrible photos. And so I bought a nice camera, and I used a nice camera on the shop, and our photos were really nice. But carrying this camera around got annoying, or I'd be like, hey, I should take a photo of that. I'd go grab my camera and be dead battery or whatever. So I finally decided I'm gonna pony up, and I bought an iPhone 11 Pro. I paid $200 or $300 extra just because it had apparently a nice camera. It's like the best investment I've ever made for our business, because I always have a really nice camera in my pocket. It's like, you can't underestimate power of a really nice, well taken photo. I grabbed some pictures that this is from my friends at Verve Kombucha in Waterloo. These are all iPhone photos. Like, that's pretty amazing. Like, I have a friend who's a professional photographer, and I've asked him, like, in the $500 budget, like, what should I be doing for like a digital camera? And he's like, don't. You're not gonna spend $2,000 on a camera. Use an iPhone, because it's gonna be best. But get a nice phone. Google Pixel has great cameras as well, or right? Google, I don't know. I'm not very techy, but Google has great cameras, I think. Another tip is just use an app like Canva. Who all use Canva? A lot of people do. Yeah. So Canva is an awesome app that gives you, it's gonna give you ideas for posts, because there's a lot of templates on there for posts. It also helps you format photos. So You can format photos specifically for like Instagram stories. If you want to touch up a photo for an Instagram story, you can go into Canva and use that. There's also, it's just use an app like Canva. That's just a tip. I just like it. I think the last thing I'm going to finish up with is I'm just going to challenge everybody. So if you really believe in social media, invest in it. Make a commitment. It takes time and effort. So make a commitment of 6 months or 2 months or whatever to really push it and do as much as you can. It doesn't have to be hard, but if you can do more than maybe what you're doing now. So make a commitment to social media. Focus on just one platform. So we focus on Facebook. We use Instagram because it's easy, but just focus on one platform. If you learn one platform's insights and their algorithm, if I like, for me, I've really kind of pulled back on social media in the last year or two, just because I actually don't like social media. And so like for me personally, I have a timer on my phone that at 30 minutes my social media goes away because I just don't really, I obviously like it too much. So I have to make it go away. So focus on just one platform. And I guess where I was going before that is I focused on Facebook for the first 2 years that we were in business. And I did get to the point where that's why we started looking at Snapchat, some of these other, places that, again, it's all free stuff. So, but just focus on one just because there's a lot of noise and it can be hard to keep it all straight. Make a plan to post regularly, one time a week, commit to that. So make a plan to post once a week, twice a week, 5 times a week, whatever. But be consistent. That's Facebook and Instagram really react to consistent posting. It's amazing when I like go on vacation, so I might only post once or twice for a couple of weeks. It's crazy. Like our interactions go down as well as I'm convinced that our sales numbers are completely tied to our social media interactions. Like our sales numbers just go down too, because we rely on a lot of impulse buyers to just be like, hey, I'm gonna run and go grab something.
Well, and scheduling.
Scheduling. Yeah, you can use a scheduling app. I don't do well with scheduling. I'm like on the way to work, like, okay, what are we gonna post about today? And then I like start scrolling through my photos and, oh, here's something I took. We can post about this. But yeah, scheduling, I used to use scheduling a lot. Scheduling is awesome because then you can come up with, and the other thing too is like, not everyone works the same way. So if you're not you don't feel super creative, to when you are feeling creative, to bang out 4, 5, 6 posts and just save them as drafts and use them schedule. That's really smart. I should have mentioned that, but it's just not something that I use anymore. So another tip that with making this plan is come up with a few categories you want to highlight. So at Euphoria Coffee, the categories that we have chosen that we want to highlight is the customer experience. So one of the things that we want our followers to see is to be drawn into what does it feel to be a customer at Euphoria Coffee. So we're posting interior shots of our business. We're posting our customers at their table enjoying coffee. We might be posting just some coffee set up at a table and try to use our caption to bring people in. Who do you want to share coffee with today or whatever. So that's one of our categories that so when you're having a mental block, if you have a few categories, it just makes it a lot easier. So
Hey Nick, when you post like that, do you have them sign a media release consent form?
no, I just go like, hey, do you care if I
So
take
verbal.
a photo of you? Yeah, I always ask. Yes, I absolutely do. Unless it's like yeah.
The wrong person gets their photo thrown out there and they didn't want it.
So if I understand right, though, it's not illegal in your own business, right?
I don't know.
It's illegal in ours, not, in our case, it's not.
Expectation of privacy. So that's where you get into trouble, is there needs to be an expectation of privacy. In a hospital setting,
Yeah.
there is.
Yeah.
However,
Everywhere, yeah.
if you're in a public place or you're a business owner taking a photo of your business, there's not an expectation of privacy within reason. Understand your industry. Jason, there's an expectation of privacy with what you do. You know, there isn't necessarily an expectation of privacy with what the chamber does in our events.
Yeah.
We actually, attorney does, our legal department told the attorney, we hosted a CPR training class at our business. There's an expectation of privacy at our business, even if it's something fun.
Yeah.
Right? If I have a picnic outside my business, in the parking lot, there's no expectation of privacy. Inside your building. Inside their building, there is, and I can't get away with it, even if it's come in and have a burger or something, because the expectation always exists.
So what about like, well, I guess if it was like your employees, like if you had a birthday party for one of your employees and had people drop in, that you probably couldn't post.
Right.
Without verbal permission.
Well, we just have it assigned in the CPR class with the language that this can be used.
Yeah. But there's some crazy laws for you as a, you have to get a lot of stuff. Yes, thank you guys.
I use my social media quite a bit on my off days.
Okay.
Some of you probably will already follow me. I call it research and development. It's my excuse to get away from West Virginia and find out what else is going on in the world.
Okay.
But I've actually gotten more positive responses out of that. Somebody will see something in the background, maybe it's the way a place was decorated or what a food item looked like, or something that could be added to our menu, or, and people give you feedback right away.
So you're doing that on your personal though?
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
but every once in a while, I will post it on my page.
Using your personal page for business is very smart because you bypass some of the
Right.
some of what Facebook is going to flag and tamp down on your personal page is not.
Yeah.
And depending on if you're selling like selling a product using your personal page and posting that to groups is 10 times more effective than someone, Deb, if you go into a group, into the West Union for Sale group and try to post that you are doing a clearance special versus if you use your personal page, you're going to probably get a lot better interaction on using your personal page, which is interesting. But yeah, no, and that's amazing. Like, I think that's one of the coolest things about social media is that if you use it, it's like you're communicating with your customer. Like that's one, like, you can't really beat that. Like you can't do that in print advertising or a lot of other things.
And a
So
lot of times, some of the places that you actually visit and do the post, you end up with some interaction with them as well.
yeah,
And you know what? Those people do the same thing that you do. Is you're going to see their place, they're going to come see
Yeah.
you.
yeah, absolutely. Let's see. So yeah, customer experience. We try to highlight our staff and their commitment to service and quality. Specials and our menu items. And then the fourth category is just behind the scenes, anything that kind of shows us just working, rolling up our sleeves, doing stuff back in the kitchen, making syrups, doing something down that line. So that's just a tip to, if you're going to invest in it, come up with some of those categories that you want to, that your follower, your user is going to want to see, and then use that to kind of mentally when you're having a creative block, I guess.
Which one of those categories is best for you?
I honestly, I know that lately it's been just our customer experience category. Yeah. Yeah. Behind the scenes, like people love, like we've posted, like when we're making our caramel sauce or like back when we made food, when we were like making a soup or something, like people love that. Just seeing you throwing stuff in a pot, like, yeah. It's just amazing. And it's like, it was actually really low production. Like we didn't edit it or nothing. You just throw it on. Let's see.
So
So
Facebook Live a lot.
I have no, I was not, I was gonna mention that and then it's not in my notes, so I forgot. But that is one of the other, where did I have it here? But yeah, using all the media types available, that was one of my things. Facebook Lives are amazing, or Instagram Lives, like it's crazy. Because what you do is you get someone, even if you only have the longer you stay on it, even if you only have 40 people on it, you've got them, like they're giving you all of their attention. So do you use Facebook Lives? Yeah.
Haven't in a while, but the last one that out of all the posts that we've done, has the most interactions and
Yeah.
likes and
Yeah.
skyrocket.
We try to use our Facebook Lives for like, if we have something important or personal that we want to share, I'll do it on Facebook Live. Just because if it's something I want to make sure like the maximum amount of people will hear. Like I don't like Facebook Live either because like for instance, we did we gave away free coffee for a year and we did that a live drawing. You can drop your name in the hat, right? Live drawing. Well, so I'm like, okay, we're gonna pull out these names. Well, the first I'm live, and the first name I pull out was Christy Austin, who was the chamber director. And I read it live, and I'm like, okay, what? I mean, I would have liked to have the privacy to ask her, like, is this something you want to accept, or do you want to like maybe like I can give you all the free coffee, but let's like publicly give this to someone else. And so things like that. Like, there's definitely risk to it too. Anytime you go live. I'm gonna crash through these because I'm more long-winded than I thought. But so define your goals. Do you want to increase sales? Like, there's a difference between if you want to increase sales or if you want to use it as a platform to talk to your customers. So define your goals, and then define your target audience. Who is your ideal customer? And you can look at that using the insights. You can figure out who your customer who is responding to your post is. That might not be your ideal customer. You might need to, like, maybe you're having lots of interactions, but it's with, I don't know, like, if your ideal customer is not who's reacting to your post, you're spending a lot of foolish time, right? So be inspired by your competition. This is one thing that I use a lot. I follow people, like, if I see somebody's Facebook page, business Facebook page that looks cool, like Verve Kombucha, I get tons of inspiration off of them because they do a similar thing to me. And I follow them and I see their stuff come through my feed. And I'm like, hey, we should, like, maybe we don't have kombucha, but we have coffee. I could set up a shop similar to that. And so I copy a lot off of other people. Use your competition, follow people. Try to kind of choose your battles. Like, you can go follow, like, like there's Onyx Coffee Company is an example that comes to my mind. It's like, they're one of the top 3 coffee shops in the nation. They have probably hundreds of thousands of dollars of budget for just social media. Me following them and trying to like recreate their posts is ridiculous. So kind of find people in the same ballpark as you are. And then this is going to seem really contradictory, but yeah, copy your competition, but be authentic. So put your own spin on it. That's the only thing what I kind of wanted to talk about there is just put your own spin on it. Figure out how to make it your content instead of, basically plagiarizing someone else. Collaborate with like-minded businesses, and we talked about that earlier. I don't remember how we did. Oh, we were talking about like liking and sharing or following someone else and us, and we're doing a giveaway. So collaborating with other businesses is a really good way to grow your following, and then just educate yourself. YouTube and Google, like, you don't have to have a social media degree. All that I know is I've just learned on YouTube and Google, so just take some time. But that's all I got. Matt wanted me to give a chance for questions, so we got till 3?
Technically, yes.
Okay, all right.
About 7 minutes.
All right. Does anyone have questions? I feel like that we did a good job asking questions as we went along.
Do you have, I guess my question would be, if you were to say one thing that this group should walk away absolutely not doing, what would you recommend?
Absolutely not doing?
Right.
So I have 2 answers that pop in my head. I mean, number 1 is the easiest answer. Like, don't
Don't do nothing.
Yeah, don't do nothing, right? Use, like, you're better off doing something, right? Like, if 80 people, like, when we started, it felt like we were just treading water. Like, we were like, yeah, there'd only be like 80 people. Well, I was thrilled that 80 people saw my post. Like, I thought that was great. Now I get kind of annoyed if like 500 people see it, 'cause it's like, why didn't I perform better? But, and I'm sure there's others that probably have even way better numbers than that. The other thing is that if you have a really great product, social media is how people do judge you. Some people do, not nearly all, and your customers definitely don't, but your potential customers do. So, put your best foot forward. If you have a great product, but every photo, or every post that you have is a blurry picture that's upside down, like,
I do have a little
it's
bit of a
a
question.
bad idea.
So on mine, I check mine quite often and when I see that we're very heavy on the female viewers versus male, is there, I mean, does that mean I need to change the way I post or the things I post? I don't know, just.
So Troy, who makes the decisions where they're gonna eat?
Dan's way.
In my house, I normally am like, hey, where do you want to eat? Because I'll eat anything.
I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying.
I know, that's a good, yeah. Like, we are overwhelmingly women, but that like totally makes sense. Like, that checks out, but yeah.
What's the percentage of users, just Facebook in general, men versus women?
Well, that, and also active users.
Correct.
Ones that are actually using it. You're gonna be, for sure around here, like, dudes are pretty busy and not spending a lot of time, and I'm not saying women aren't, but I am saying. A lot of guys, no.
That's not checking
Yeah,
the social
yeah.
media.
I'm Googling it, I'm curious.
But it is a
No,
fact,
that's
like,
not
I know more guys that just don't have time for it, they're just like, I'm not gonna worry about it, it's not necessarily, they
It's not a
they could,
priority.
it's not a priority, they could make time for it, but they just don't care, where, yeah, definitely.
I think you're
And-
hitting the women pro more the discretionary spending in general, so I think you're doing what
Yeah,
you want to do.
that was kind of my thought, like, yeah, I mean, that's for us, we're like, that's a great idea, cause she's normally the one bringing him in to our shop.
Right.
So,
And if you're in my house, the husband doesn't have one, he just uses mine.
Right.
Like, he's on the iPad on my Facebook looking at stuff, like, he's not gonna have it on his phone because he's too busy for that. So he'll wait and just use mine.
And another good point about just who is using Facebook, like who is sharing photos of their kids and stuff. I mean, that's like guys aren't nearly as apt to just go out and be posting personal information either. So yeah, I don't know. Any other questions?
Spelling is a pet peeve. Make sure everything's spelled right.
Yes.
So
Very
that's
much.
interesting. There is a method to that madness though.
Yeah,
Unless it's a funny post.
right,
Then it's okay.
right. But when you misspell the word the,
Yeah. So one of the most effective, back when I was strictly in sales, one of the guys that I worked with who was the most effective at selling had spelling problems in all of his posts. It's a huge pet peeve of mine too. Spelling problem in all of his posts and like using all caps and then all of a sudden none. And he was like, no, dude. And like he showed me articles and like studies and like it makes people annoyed and so they interact.
Right.
It's weird. It is. So there's some
All
things about this
publicity
that
is
are-
good publicity.
Maybe, yeah.
Misspell
So
more
yeah.
words.
That's what you're
Well,
taking away from this.
if you miss,
But you're also in a hospital spelling,
So-
or setting.
If it's an SEN or SON,
I
I'm
misspelled
gonna
it
know,
all the
you're not.
time before I started there. So I'm like, it's SEN?
Yeah. Oh. But yeah, I agree. Spelling is a huge pet peeve of mine though. You're never gonna see, well, hopefully you don't see misspelled stuff.
It depends on your industry. I would imagine that, Troy, you might be able to get away a little more with spelling things wrong. But if I see Gunderson's Facebook page,
True.
I'm about to go there for my cancer treatment and you guys can't spell cancer right or something, I'm like, well, I don't know. Let's- Yeah, exactly.
Kathy was at Troy's too long.
having BERE.
Yeah, well, I think that's all I got. It's 3:00, so.
Thank you, everybody, for coming, and thank you for putting this on there.
Take your office chair back.
Thank you, sir.
For walking before. Are you done for today?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
So going to the desk, no again?
Yeah.
Two more times, that's my prediction.
But I'm always wrong, so.
No, I don't.